we've taken part of a lot of protests. In some instances, I helped organize a lot of protests here in this state. And those exact same legislators who you're talking about, who are not willing to listen and to be the change, the new protest is to get them up out of office.
Yeah.
That's the new march down Broadway. That's the new march down the expressway, is to get them up out of office and put people in place that understand exactly what needs to happen here, man, in this state. There's some brothers. Shout out to the brothers from the Black Civic Network, by the way, man. Brother Thomas Berry and Brother Nick Muhammad. There's some brothers who are like really pushing for a reparations package here, man. It's overdue. The conversation is overdue. But then there's legislators who don't even want to have that conversation, right? There's legislators that were, like, we forced them to have a conversation about police accountability. George Floyd forced them. Mm-hmm. The state burned up. Before that, what they were asking, and I'm talking about the Republicans in the Senate, was who set the fires? Whose job was it to do this? Who, what? Like, these were the questions they were asking, not why. You know what I mean? Like, why the fire started. And what should have been, what can we do to prevent another fire? Let me just be clear when I tell you this, brother, and I'm not psychic, I just know the truth. Mm-hmm. There's going to be another George Floyd murder in this state. This year. There's going to be another police-involved killing. I'm not psychic. I just know it.
Look at the statistics.
You think about this. The post board, the police officers standard trained, the post board, made up of ex-police officers. Public Safety and Finance Committee at the state capitol, ex-police officers, come on, man, they stacked the deck. It's almost like they suck the air out of the room. When you go in there, you go to a hearing and there's a public testimony about police accountability and you see the police officers all around the room with their guns from all over the state. It sucks the air out of the room. And it's almost like doing these codes to the legislators to vote this bill down. No. Like, what is it going to take? And listen, just so that I'm, like, not the only one, like, I have a nation of people behind me, man, when I say this. If the whole entire world says we have a problem, we got a problem. When the whole world says that we've been had a racism problem here, the whole world's not wrong. The whole world says we have a policing problem throughout the United States. The whole world's not wrong. And, we put people into positions to where they just, like, can cover their ears and not, okay, so now it's time to start moving some of these people out of them comfortable lazy boy seats that we pay for. We're taxpayers, bro. We pay for those seats. We pay for that nice desk you have. We pay for that nice office, and we can pay to get your butt up out of there. Our voices are I had a bunch of college students ask me the other day, Mr. Thompson, we were talking about voting. Do our voices really matter? No. Clear, no. Your voice don't matter? No. I'm not going to even lie to you. No, your voice don't matter. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, if you don't use it, it don't matter. If you don't use your voice, it don't matter. After the fact, if you use your voice a few years ago, we wouldn't have Donald Trump.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I mean?
Well, let's go dive a little bit deeper into that piece right there, right? This voting and this, taxpayer paying money, paying taxes, right? Which everyone has to do. My dad has a saying that he used to always say to me. He used to say, I ain't got to do none but stay black and pay tax. Well, three things. I ain't got to do none but stay black, pay taxes, and die. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing you really got to do in this world, right? You got to stay a black man. You going to die. That's inevitable for everybody. I don't care who you are. You going to die. And you got to pay taxes. But let's talk about policy again, because that's my thing as well. So I'm a graduate student studying MPA, Master's in Public Administration. I have aspirations to go off and actually pursue a PhD. So I love policy. I love this type of talk, right? Let's talk about policy. So if you're like we talked about probation earlier, you're placed on probation for a nonviolent crime, some you did at an age of 18, 19 years old, right? And you're placed on a 5-year probation. So that's a complete election cycle and some that you have to sit out on. At least 2 election cycles for Minnesota House, one for Senate and one for on a national level, right? So these are key elections that you're missing out on because you're on probation for a nonviolent crime. But yet, you don't ever miss a tax payment. You can't miss a tax payment. You still pay taxes in this state. You're still able to get a job sometimes, depending on the degree of your felony and what job you work in. You can get a job. They can take out the taxes for that. You can go to the store. You can pay sales tax. If you are a homeowner, you can still pay a property tax, but you can't vote. All because you have a nonviolent felony on your record, right? We gave you an example of you can be selling $50 worth of marijuana, and that could be enough to get a 5th degree in some counties. You mentioned that, Ramsey County Attorney John Choi, a great guy as well. I definitely like him as well. He's not going to, prosecute some of those types of cases, but we have a lot of places right now in Minnesota that absolutely will. And we have so many black brothers and sisters and people of color in general who have been disenfranchised, disadvantaged by those policies, and now they can't even vote, but yet they still are able to pay tax. They still have to pay taxes. They're required to do that. Explain that to me. Why can't? Is that something that you would advocate for if you're elected to a House seat?
Let's go back to we talk about our dad. My dad was a unique character too, man. And my dad said to me, some of the biggest gangsters in the earth are in the White House and at your state capitol. Some of the biggest gangsters. Al Capone don't have nothing on some of these gangsters that are in these doggone legislative seats, man. Racism didn't go away, man. It just got a little bit more sophisticated. You know that, like more slick, more. A lot of people change. Listen, I don't have to blink an eye when I say that they trade in their white hoods for blue suits, man. They trade in them white suits for blue suits. In some instances, there's a state of Minnesota pendant right here on the side of it. So what you're talking about, what you're describing, is meant to keep the black man down. Do you know that, right? Like I don't want him voting. He may vote somebody in that may help him. So anything I can do to keep black people down and oppressed. This is not rhetoric, bro. Like me and you been black all our life, right? So when was the first time you heard Blue Lives Matter? When was the first time you heard about a blue life?
Up until like last year.
There's no such thing, man. Look, we can't unzip this costume, man. You can unzip that blue uniform, man. Look, we can't unzip this blackness. Yeah. We can't. My mom used to burn the toast, and she scraped the toast and the brownness off it. We couldn't throw bread away. Like if the toast was burned, you take a butter knife and scrape that stuff off of there and put some butter on it and eat that bread. We can't scrape this toast off our skin, man. That's what I'm saying. So when you talk about policy, like anytime you talk about changing policy that has kept us in the state that we're in, it's going to be met with resistance by people, and you can tell who they are because they're going to fight so hard. Those are the people who we need to remove out of these seats. Then we can get to pushing policy that makes sense. But the people who resist the change, look at it, right now, everybody's sympathetic to Black Lives. Everybody's Black Lives Matter sign in their yard and everybody, but Black Lives
Matter. For now,
it's
the season for it. For now, yeah.
Right. Black Lives been matter for black men. Right? Like how can I make this make sense, man? Black men are we're like endangered species almost here. And I hate to sound like chauvinistic. Mm-hmm. But they'll give it to anybody but us. Anybody but us. They try to pit Somali brothers against black men like they got the same color skin. Like, come on, man. Legislation has to make sense, and it has to work for black men in order for our communities to be the communities that who's doing all the shooting here in these doggone communities? Young men who walk around here without fathers because their fathers are incarcerated. Their fathers are going through some of the same things that you're talking about, right? I feel like if I've served 20 years in prison, I've said I'm sorry 20 years in a row. When I come home, I should come home to something more than just find you a job before I send you back to jail, And by the way, you got child support that's been waiting on you all these years. And, oh, yeah, you got tax debt. Like, I should come home to something other than a probation officer and a P-test.
Not to mention that they're capitalizing off of your labor while they're incarcerating you. So not only are you getting screwed because you're still paying taxes and you're still liable for whatever debt you had prior to your incarceration. So when you get out, you still are obligated to pay whatever that is. Like you just mentioned, the child support payments. That don't stop because you locked up. It keeps battling. Whatever debt that you acquired thus far, it's going to stay there. After you're done serving your time, giving back to society in that way, giving your time, you're also getting your labor capitalized on while you're incarcerated. So they paying you 25, 30 cents or whatever to make whatever product that they pushing through the prison out of their job opportunities that they have there. They reselling those products for 1,000%, 10,000% on what it costs them to make. They paying you 50 cents an hour to make a dresser. You make one dresser in an hour, they can charge $150 for that dresser. All profit for them.
I always it's interesting when I hear people saying, John, you always playing a race card. I said, well, stop dealing these cards out for me to play, man. Like, I will give you a case in point. There was this Dakota County sheriff and the Dakota County attorney Backstrom were at a press conference. And I just so happened to be walking past this press conference, and I hear this man say, in Dakota County, we don't have many small amount of marijuana cases that we try in this courtroom. They may be charged with a small amount of marijuana, but we don't try those cases. I mean, not that many. I had to shut that dog over here, and this is viral. You can Google this, man. It's viral. I shut it down because you're lying. No, as a matter of fact, you're not really lying, because you'll pull a brother over getting on the highway on Yankee Doodle in Egan. That's Dakota County, by the way. You pull a brother over, and you'll say, okay, you got your driver's license? Okay. Oh, I got my license. Okay, I'll give you my license. I smell marijuana in the car, right?
Anything you want to tell me about.
Anything you want to tell me about now? Okay, come on out of this car. Let me search the car. Now they found this little bitty roach in your car, right? Or you don't find no marijuana. People may have been smoked at home and it's in their clothes. But now all of a sudden, you don't have driver's license. You don't have insurance. Now my car's being towed. Now I got all these tickets. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw this small amount of marijuana out because you got no driving after revocation, driving with no insurance, driving while black. You got all these charges, right?
And we're going to impound your car, make you pay $350 to get it out.
And you can't go to work tomorrow.
$90 fee every time every day is there.
So you don't charge these small amount of marijuana, but that marijuana got you in that car. And now all of a sudden you have all these charges this young man has, and he can't go to work, right? So I want to be careful, like allowing people to have spaces where they spew. That's rhetoric right there, where they spew this rhetoric because nobody's dealing with this but us. Mm-hmm. And if we don't say anything about it, then it's like, oh, they're just like being hard on policing. Like as a black man experiencing in Minneapolis, when Minneapolis was Murderapolis, experiencing police officers pull us over. This is when it was stop and frisk, right? And get out of the car, and all of you, because 4 of us in the car, and all of you put your hands on the car, and matter of fact, they pull our pants down, bro, and put gloves on and stick their hand in our butt, and up to anal cavity searches, right? And I complain about it, and the officer says to me, nigga, I can change the way you live your life for the next 10 years. Like, as a kid, I'm thinking, like, I don't know what he's saying, but as an adult now, I honestly know exactly what he was saying.
How do you deal with that type of trauma?
I turn my passion into action, man, and I actually put my name on the ballot. That's how I deal with it. It's time to cut us in or cut it out. It's time for me to stop. Like, I've complained. I've had the bullhorn, bro. I've marched down the street. I've shown up. I've shut down hearings. I've completely just told mayors that we no longer want you, so don't even come to the podium. We've showed up 2,500 deep. Like, I've done all of this right here. The next obvious step, because they're not hearing us, is to remove them. That's how I deal with it. Like, I'm a train ready to go straight ahead, man. And I'm when I talk about tunnel vision, like, I don't see nothing but that state capitol as my target, right? And the legislation pieces, like, it'll come because it'll come organically from my community. What needs to be passed in my community, my people know what we need. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to. I have ideas in my head about a legislation that I want to push. But my community know exactly what we need because we've been dealing without for too long, right? So for somebody like me to be in a position to help create the change we want to see, we get brothers that look just like me that go into these positions and forget they're black. And I mean that. We get brothers just like me who get into these positions and forget that like, there was a mission that got you here, man, and you forgetting the mission. Like, I'm part of the demographic of people who like are fed up. And I don't want to yell about it no more, man. They heard me. They know what they're doing to us. We want them to stop it, and I had to make them stop it. And so when you ask me, how I deal with the trauma, I had a calling over my life, bro. Like, this is what I was called to do. I was making like $87,000 a year as a machinist. I'm not doing this for the money. Like,
you don't get that paid that much as a state legislator anyway. No, people think you in it for the money at the state level. It ain't really all that. I mean, it's some because it's part-time, but.
I got an 11-year-old kid, bro. Like, I got an 11-year-old son. My dad ain't never showed me nothing about the state capitol or legislation or how to balance my checkbook. My dad ain't never had to talk with me, about when you see the police. You know where the talk came from, by the way? So be cognizant. Like, this should be a red flag for you. If you ever hear a black man say, I had to talk, or my dad or my parent had to talk with me, they lying.
Right.
You know where I had to talk at? I had to talk in the car. I'm in the car with my buddies, and they're like, man, they go to police, man, keep your head straight. Man, what you turn back for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was the talk. Put your hand on the steering wheel. That was the talk. When you're in the car with your buddy. My parents ain't never said, when you see the police, put both hands on the steering wheel, and none of that ever happened. That happened, right? So when I said the streets know and my community know what we need, like, I'm clear with that message.
Yeah.
Because I'm a part of it. I've had, just think about it, like, DFL endorsed, the governor endorsed me, Keith Ellison endorsed me, AFL-CIO, AFSCME, Sierra Club, St. Paul Federation of Educators, Moms Demand, all these endorsements, and here I am, just a brother from, you know what I mean? It's obvious that people are seeing exactly what I'm saying, that I have a calling over my life, and I have tunnel vision. I don't plan on bringing my ideas to the state capitol either. Like, my ideas will be there. But there's a whole community that has ideas that need to be implemented that aren't being heard.